I had a really jaded way of viewing the world, and it wasn't accurate. You're afraid of money, you're afraid of success, you're afraid of business. You need to overcome your fear. You're not going to plant that flag and move on. You're actually going to embrace that as your identity every day. And that's how you will serve people. We never execute consistently in ways that are different than the way we see ourselves. So sometimes we need an identity makeover. We need to see our true identity so that we can live that out consistently. I believe in the potential of everybody. Average is living without purpose. Average is serving self, not having gratitude. Average is not having integrity. That's what the majority of the world is, the way they operate. They're just out for themselves. I want to inspire people to take on the identity of I'm someone who is intentionally growing, learning, developing, sharpening as a way of making a positive impact in my surroundings and the world around me.
Welcome to the Thought Leader Revolution with Nikki Ballou. Join the revolution. There's never been a better time in history to speak your truth, find your freedom, and make your fortune. Each week, we interview the world's top thought leaders and learn the secrets of how they built a 6 to 7 figure practice. This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. I'm your host, Nikki Ballou. And boy, do we have an exciting guest lined up for you today. Today's guest is one of our emerging thought leaders. He is a true thought leader in the arena of leadership and culture. And he is the author of his brand new first ever book, Become an Improver. I am speaking, of course, of none other than the one, the only, the legendary Justin Winstead. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Oh, man, what an introduction. Let's go. Thanks for having me on, Nikki. I love it. You just reminded me, did you ever watch A Knight's Tale, the movie A Knight's Tale?
I did.
And they always get these boring introduction of the knight, and then they get the one orator on there, and he's like, man, he gives the incredible introduction to the guy played by Heath Ledger. You just reminded me of that. I'm like, man, I'm ready to go charge. Let's go.
Awesome, man. I should go watch that again. It's been a while since I've seen it. You know, I patterned my introductory style after the legendary Bruce Buffer, who does introductions at the UFC of the fighters. In the red corner, hailing. And he just always go, the reigning, undefeated. I mean, I listen to that guy and go, damn, I want to be that good. I want to be that good at introducing people.
Oh, that's so much fun, man. This will be a blast. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So, Justin, tell us your backstory. How'd you get to be the great Justin Winstead?
Yeah, well, I know there's somebody watching or listening to this that's going, what is that accent? And this is what happens when you take a Louisiana boy who's a mixture of country and Cajun, and then you put him in Texas with a little Texas twang. You mix all of those together, and this is what you get. And that's really the overarching arc of my story. As I started in Louisiana, ended up in Texas. So how did that happen? Well, as a young boy, was raised in a small farming community. My dad, a great man, hardworking man, but was a high school dropout, and it was hard to make money without an education. My mom was a public school teacher, and so there was a little income there, but we had siblings, and it was hard getting by. Financial literacy was a challenge in our culture where I was at and in our family. And so we had a lot of compassion, a lot of community. But I just remember as a young boy growing up and thinking there's the haves and the have-nots in the world. And I could often feel like I was on the have-nots side of the equation. And I felt like I was disadvantaged and that I didn't have the things that other people had. And so there was a lot of fears and insecurities that created in me from an early age. As I grew up, I ended up having an experience where I became a Christian, and that began to shape my worldview as well. And I thought, well, this actually matches up with this feeling that I have that money is bad and rich people are evil. And if you are successful in business, you must have cheated your way to get there. And so I kind of had this warped worldview, and then I get into Christianity, and there's some scriptures about the love of money is the root of all evil. And so it felt like it reinforced this deal. And I thought, well, what do I do with this? Where do I go? So I ended up going into the ministry because I thought, well, I don't care about money. That's what the bad people care about. I care about people. So I'm just going to go serve in the ministry. And I love to talk. I love to visit with people. I love to teach. And so it seemed like a good fit. So early on in my life, ministry was the path that I was on, and that's what I thought my life would be about. I did that for a little over 10 years, and I moved to Texas actually to finish out my seminary degree, and I told my parents, don't worry, I'll be back next year, and we'll move back. I was married at the time. And I got out here and realized that I had a really jaded way of viewing the world and that it wasn't accurate. Part of that was books like Entree Leadership and Total Money Makeover and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and, some of these financial books and business books. And it just began to open my eyes to a whole new world. I was watching Batman Begins. And Batman Begins, part of his story is he falls into this well as a young boy. The bats cover him, and he develops a phobia of the bats. As he grows into adulthood, he wants to do good in the world and be a hero and fight evil. But before he can do that, he has to overcome his fear of these bats. And he does. But not only does he overcome it, but he overcomes his fear and then embraces that as his identity. And as I'm watching this and reading these books and spending time in prayer and meditation, I start feeling that same calling that, Justin, you're afraid of money, you're afraid of success, you're afraid of business because you're ignorant about it. You haven't conquered your fear. You need to overcome your fear. And not only are you going to overcome it, you're not going to plant that flag and move on. You're actually going to embrace that as your identity every day. And that's how you will serve people. So as Robert Kiyosaki said, I'd look for a job for what I could learn, not what I could earn. And I opened up my skill set to new industries and ended up doing some real estate, some oil and gas. Insurance is where I really began to get a good foothold and make some strides. Worked for an agent for a while, then went out and launched my own agency. I sold that agency a few years ago, and that was a good debt-free sale, 7 figures net. And so somebody in their 30s, that was a good success. And so now what I do, and part of how I built that agency was using the things I loved about doing ministry way back in the day, helping people in life, being an encourager, serving others' needs, teaching, encouraging. I brought all that into building my business. And then now that's what I do full time as I teach, consult. I work one-on-one. I work with teams. We develop training programs. And I just want to help people alter the trajectory of their life like my life trajectory has been altered. I'm living in a nice home. I've gotten to travel around the world, getting ready for a trip to Patagonia to go hike that. And for a little country boy that was raised in a trailer house in Louisiana where we could look through and see the floor underneath because we didn't even have solid flooring. And I think, how did I end up here? Well, I've kind of taken note of those things, and that's what I want to pay forward to the world.
That's a heck of a story, man. So, Justin, I want to dive deeper into your journey to becoming a Christian. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, I was 8th grade and on the football team, and me and one of my teammates got into a little scuffle. He takes off his helmet, I take off mine, and we're yapping at each other. And then he grabs the face mask of his helmet and he just backhands across my forehead. The helmet hits my head. And I was kind of a rough and tumble young man, and I just got ready to launch into him and fight. And I went to go forward, and I thought somebody held me back. And so I turned around and was like, who's got me? And there was nobody there. And I thought, well, that was really strange. And it was this weird thing. I just felt stuck, and I didn't know what to do. So the only thing I could do is he hit me on one side of the head. I just turned the other side as kind of a statement of, rebuke, or me trying to, send some message like, oh, here's the other one. That was nothing. And it was a weird experience, and I didn't know why it was happening and why I didn't decide to fight him. But my best friend comes over and he pulls us kind of apart and he says, hey, man, you've had kind of a rough day. Why don't you come out to my youth group tonight? We're having free pizza, and I think that would maybe help your day end a little better than it started. So I went for free pizza, and ignored pretty much everything that was going on at the event until these two guys were speaking. And one of them said a phrase, and he said, "Turn the other cheek." And I thought, wait, what is he saying? This turn the other cheek. And so I started like paying attention because that had just happened earlier that day. And I knew it was a weird experience. And the guy began to talk about grace and mercy and forgiveness. And those were things that were foreign concepts to me. I didn't quite know what to do with that. But as he began to talk, I realized that I was in need of that I was in need of grace and mercy and forgiveness. I started looking at my life, even as an eighth grader, and I wasn't like killing people or doing drugs or anything like that, but I was living selfishly. I was lying. My language was not building up. I was just living a life that was me focused. And in that moment, I became very convicted about that and realized that I did believe that there was a God, and I had enough sense to know we didn't just appear from nowhere, that something put all of this into motion. And in my inner spirit, I felt that I had grieved the God who created the universe, and that I was in need of his mercy and forgiveness, and that it was being offered to me. So that night I accepted that gift of forgiveness, and it was a weight lifted off my shoulder. I could tell a change happened on the inside, but it was felt on the outside. And I became a new man. I was very soft and tenderhearted for several days after that. And it was like there was a new light that had come into my life, and that's been there since.
8th grade. That would have made you 14?
12 years old. Yeah, I was young. I was 12 years old. I started a little early, but 12 years old.
12 years old. Wow. That's incredible. Good for you.
And by the time I was 14 and 15, I was speaking on stages in churches.
I'm a Christian, and my family, we're from Iran originally. And when I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. This wasn't going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So he and my mom got together. They said, we got to leave. We got to take the boys. And that's what they did. They made a plan. They got me and my two brothers out of Iran. It took them a while. It didn't happen immediately. But from the time I was 11 till I was almost 15 is when we landed in Canada, where I now live in Toronto. And at the time, I didn't want to leave my home. I didn't want to leave my friends. But looking back, it was the single greatest thing Mom and Dad could have done for us, because they took us from a legacy of religious tyranny to a legacy of religious freedom. And it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. Anyways.
That's so good. Yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And two of our new best friends are here from Iran now, and we just got them moved into their own apartment. It's two single moms. And so I'll tell you their first names, and you remember them in your prayers, but it's Zahar and Nilu are two new friends that we have here from Iran.
Zahar and Nilu, as in Nilufar. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I'll definitely pray for them. Are they Christians?
Yes, recently. The English is still broken, but they come to our Bible studies and they hold up their phone with Google Translate, and they try to gain as much as they can knowledge, but they're growing.
Great. That's great.
Recently baptized. It's hard because I talk fast and I talk in redneck, and so the Google Translate struggles sometimes. But
you might be a redneck if you talk fast. Jeff Foxworthy, God bless him. Anyways, so let's shift gears. So tell me, brother, in the professional work you do, what's the itch you scratch for folks, and how do you go about doing it?
Yeah, well, there's kind of two main ones. One is really more of the individual, and then one is from and that's more personal. And then the other one is more team, and that's going to lean more professional. And so the individual one really has to do with purpose and potential and complacency and the inner struggle. Like, am I really living out the mission that I'm supposed to on this life? Do I even have a mission? And so how am I supposed to think about my existence and what is my identity? So when I work with individuals, often we're kind of unpacking that and helping people discover their reason for being on the planet and walking into the right identity, because we never execute consistently in ways that are different than the way we see ourselves. So sometimes we need an identity makeover. We need to see our true identity so that we can live that out consistently. So we can talk a little bit more about that. That's where the word improver, that's the name of my company, is Improver Group. I'm referred to as the Improver Coach, and my book is Become an Improver. So that's that personal side of things. The professional side of things, it usually involves more of our businesses and our teams. They actually talk about being a team of improvers. And on that, it's really about what does it really mean to be a leader? And often people conflate leadership and management, and we try to create understanding about what a leader really is, and then dialing in even deeper onto what does it mean to be a liberating leader? Because there's lots of people who are leaders, but you want to be a liberating leader. And so I help businesses and teams walk into a culture where leadership is not management by authority, it's leadership by influence, and where they learn to be a liberating leader and create a culture of that.
John Maxwell talks a lot about that.
Big John Maxwell fan.
I had the privilege of interviewing him on my podcast, interview number 149, episode 149. And he and I got along. He was gracious enough to give me his personal cell number. And that's a big deal because guys like that don't often do that. But great guy, really, really great man. Really enjoyed John Maxwell.
I agree. I got to meet him one time, Nikki, and it was at an event where I won't name the other person, but this other person was a famous college football coach who has won tons of championships and is very much in the news and everything still. But I meet this coach, and he was a grumpy curmudgeon, just not a very nice guy. And we were doing a little photo op with him, and I shook his hand. We did the photo, and I put his photo on my stuff because he's well known, but he really wasn't that pleasant. And I understand it because there's a conga line of people and they're just doing the little handshake picture thing. But John Maxwell was at that exact same event, and I had the same amount of time with him as I did this college football coach. And John's embrace when he shook my hand, and his curiosity in asking what my name was, and his care in the way that he experienced. I mean, it wasn't like I had dinner with him, but we had 45 seconds together to just greet, take a picture, wish each other well. But I felt a difference there. And I already loved the guy, but I loved him even more after that. One of my habits with books is I take books when I'm reading them and I dog ear the pages the first time I read the book. And then I go through all the dog ear pages and underline and highlight what it was that was doing it. John Maxwell's books, every page is dog eared and every word, there's no distinction there. It's kind of hard doing my technique with him.
No, for sure. I got to see him speak live 4 times, twice at an exclusive mastermind in 2018 and 2019. And then before that, in the mid 2000s, when George Bush was president, he spoke at a couple network marketing events that I attended back in the day. So when you and I talked about network marketing off camera, that just made me laugh. So given this, what's your why? What's the reason you do what you do professionally? What's the dent you're looking to make in the universe, to paraphrase the late, great Steve Jobs?
Yeah, I want to inspire a movement of people who take on the identity, in addition to their other primary identities. I want them to adopt the identity of being an improver. And I juxtapose the word improver against the word exister and the word diminisher. And so people can choose to have a negative impact. We call those diminishers. They can choose to have a neutral impact. They're just existers. Or you can have a positive impact, and those are improvers. And I want to inspire people to take on the identity of I'm someone who is intentionally growing, learning, developing, sharpening as a way of making a positive impact in my surroundings and the world around me. And the big, hairy vision piece of that is I want to see 2.5 million people sign up for that identity. So we're going to be launching a website in September of 2024 that is improverchallenge.com. And that website will be one where people can go to it, read the heartbeat of what it means to be an improver, and decide if they want to accept that challenge or not.
I like it.
Yeah.
It just gave me an idea for doing a challenge of my own.
Yeah. Well, I just, if they lay me in the ground and they say, you know what, he was constantly working on growing himself and he was making the world better, and then he inspired others to do the same. Like, to me, that's where I'll hear eternity's welcome being, well done, good and faithful servant. Like you serve people and you didn't get haughty and high and mighty. You weren't self-seeking. That's what I'm about. That's my heartbeat.
It's a great heartbeat. What you're doing is good. I like the number 2.5 million. It's a beautiful number. And you do that and God will take care of you and your business. No question about it.
That's right.
1,000%. So, brother, who is your ideal client? Paint a picture for me.
Yeah. Ideal client really is the average of several different types of clients that I work with, because I do solopreneurs and I do people just looking for life direction, aspiring professionals, emerging leaders. So I do the one-on-ones. And then I also get on stages and do keynote things and speak to large crowds. But really where I probably excel the most is are those teams who have, anywhere from a dozen to a few dozen people who are trying to get to the next level. And maybe there's been conflict or miscommunication or turnover or a leadership failure and they're doing some repair. Or maybe they're just trying to get to the next level and things are clicking on all cylinders, but they want to increase their capacity. And so they're trying to figure out mindset, habits, and the right way to think and do. So I love going in and helping those teams with either cohorts or internal programs to strategically think through their development. Industry, people are people and we're all dealing with the same struggles. And, my challenge and your challenge are the same. It's the guy who brushes his teeth with us in the mirror every day. And it's what's between our ears. We're all dealing with the same struggles. But a lot of the industries that I've dealt most in have been real estate, finance, oil and gas, insurance. Also, I've dealt some in the retail and restaurant. One of the clients I have is I work with a lot of Chick-fil-A operators here in the U.S., and so coach a lot of them and their teams. But yeah, so mid-sized teams are really an ideal fit, but I do love working with small teams and individuals as well. I don't get as much on the upper corporate end where people need everything super polished and they're looking for the Ivy League degree and they want me to be politically correct and walk around. That's not as much my jam there. And let me also put a qualifier. I work with anybody regardless of belief, but because of my ministry background and my outlook on life, I do excel with those who think deeply about their faith and they're trying to align their earthly occupation with something that they feel like is a part of their ultimate purpose. And so really, if you've got that element, I can go even deeper.
God bless you, Justin. So there's a few things I want to say in response to what you just said. So first off, I interviewed Steve Robinson, who was Chick-fil-A's chief marketing officer. He worked with the late, great Truett Cathy for a couple decades. Joined him back in 81, took him from a $100 million company to a $8 billion company or whatever the heck the number was. So that's really cool that you work with a bunch of those folks. I would love to find a way inside my work to work with faith-based organizations like that at a larger level, because we've been working primarily with solopreneurs and entrepreneurs. I love working with them. They're my people, no question about it. But hey, you can reach a lot more people and frankly make some more money by getting to some larger organizations. We've helped our clients do that in a really big way. Some of them tremendously so, have made 8 figures as a result of what we taught them to do, but something we ought to figure out for ourselves. So, you've given me 2 ideas for me. I should be giving you ideas for you here on this show. So I kind of feel bad, but at least you're getting to talk about your business, because we talked about this earlier on before the recording, that I said, hey man, we don't want this to be a big pitch fest. And you said, no, it won't be. But I probably sometimes don't even talk about my business at all. I said, don't worry about it. I'll make sure you talk about your business. So I'm delivering for you that way. But it's a beautiful thing what you're saying. I believe very strongly that folks need somebody to believe in them, to care about them. My dad, when I was a kid, used to tell me all the time, son, you got to believe in people. Everyone needs someone to believe in them. Everyone loses faith in themselves every once in a while. You just give them that little spark of belief. It can turn their own internal belief into a roaring fire. And I've found that to be true. My dad passed away February 23rd, 2020. God rest his soul. He was at the time 81 years old. But he passed that torch to me because Dad was a believer in his fellow man. And he was the kind of man, if you knew him, Justin, you were looking for work, he would sit you down in his office, call all his entrepreneur buddies, and ethically manipulate those sons of guns until one of them gave you a job. If you were trying to start a business, he'd sit you down, he'd listen to your ideas, and he was a very smart businessman. He'd done his MBA. He's from Iran, but he's done his MBA in a UK-based business school. So he came back and he'd sit down and he'd get you sorted out to get your business going. He'd get you access to capital, even clients. Even if you were competing against him in his field, because he didn't believe in competition, right? He didn't care. He said, yeah, come on, let me help you out. And if you were trying to buy a car or a house and you were not able to come up with quite enough money, the bank wouldn't give you all that you needed, you were tapped out, but you needed just a little bit more, Dad would give you a loan. And then when you tried to pay him back, he'd say, that was a gift, man. Forget about it. You're not going to pay me back. I'm not taking your money, man. Come on, just go enjoy your house. And people would always say to me, okay, Nicky, man, come on. Your dad sounds like too good to be true. Who would do this, Nicky? Well, I said, the late, great Napoleon Ballou. Why would he do it? What's the percentage? What's in it for him? I said, really good question. Well, first and foremost, he was a devout Christian. He believed he'd been blessed by his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and that it was his duty as a devout Christian to share those blessings with other people. What was in it for him is he got to be a Christian. Like, that's how he did it, man. That's how he saw it. And then secondly, he also could do it because, he had money. He was rich. Like, the dude was he was a good businessman. He had really been blessed. So he wanted to help people. He said, what am I going to do? Spend all the money on myself and my family? How many things do we need? We're good. We got the house. We got the pool. We got the this. Yeah, all right. Let's help some people now, And that was how Dad thought. And I see you as a kindred spirit, a fellow believer in not just in God, but in people. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's right. And even the tagline of the book about a challenge to escape average and unleash greatness, it's built on that belief that every person has greatness that is available to them. I believe in the potential of everybody. And I just know that the greatness is there. And I use the word unleash on purpose, obviously, because a lot of times we have things like limiting beliefs and insecurities. Those things are holding us back. And thankfully, someone came along and helped unshackle those things in my life on the way. I've had several people who've helped to untangle the leash that was holding my greatness back. And every day I'm getting more and more in line with what I can do and what I can accomplish. And so I want to help other people do that same thing, because average is living without purpose. Average is serving self. Average is not having gratitude. Average is not having integrity. That's what the majority of the world is, the way they operate. They're just out for themselves. I want to help people escape that way of living. And I want people to really find the greatness of what it means to be on purpose and to serve others and to win with integrity and to fulfill their potential.
Amen, brother. Amen. So, brother, who is like your ideal client?
Yeah. Well, we kind of chatted about that a little bit earlier with the teens, but, do you want me to give you some specific names?
Well, you don't have to give me names, but go a little bit more deeper into their pain. Like what is it that they're really struggling with? That go down from 30,000 feet to like 1,000 feet.
Yep. So I would say, perfect client today would be someone who is trying to build a faith-driven empire, and they're investing in multiple companies, and they understand the business side of things, but they want to try to keep a culture of excellence, of faith, of integrity, of service built in. And they need someone like me to come in and like, hey, I'll handle the business side, but I want you to come in and help make sure the integrity of our leadership is intact, and that every person, even if they don't feel like a leader, they feel like an improver. So that would be the ideal thing, ideal client.
Good. That's good. And so how do you go about attracting these folks? And by the way, I love that you say you want to work with faith people. I had a client who was a coach, and he's a devout Christian. And first he was like saying, I don't know if I should go into this. I said, no, man. Trust me, you need to be a kingdom business coach. Get out there, look for kingdom business owners, and go in hard. He resisted me for over a year, but when he finally stopped resisting me, he got so much business. He said, I don't know why I resisted this. I says, I don't know either, but I'm glad you finally did it. Anyways, but keep going, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, and I talk to people about their purpose, and one of the things we look at, it's not the only thing, but we do look at proficiencies. And we are a product of our nature. We are a product of nurture and a product of choice. Yeah. And when I look at my own life, just my nature and then the people who've nurtured me and the choices I've made, I'm really more adept at helping and serving faith-driven people. But I love anyone and everyone and willing to help, where I can. But that's just where my proficiencies lie in there. And we balance that with passions. How do I attract them?
How do you attract these people to become your clients? Like, what is it that works for you?
Yeah, so still working on fine-tuning that approach. I think we're all trying to figure out how to fill the top of funnel in business and grow that. But so far, most of my success has been with warm networking and just through relationships and doing what you and I are doing right now, which is learning one another and figuring out, where is a connection between this person and that person? So that's been a way of doing it. I love events. So I like building to significant dates, whether they're online or in person or whatever. Zig Ziglar used to talk a lot about the power of an impending event. Yeah. And impending events can be motivating and unifying and really create a lot of momentum. So this time last year, I was actually organizing our Improver Summit, and we brought in speakers from all around the country, and it was an amazing event. And so I like attracting people by way of serving them through events. And then my newest iteration of this is writing a book that I hope that when they're sitting around their house having a cup of coffee and they crack open a book, that I can do. I try to do three things, the 3 E's. I want to enlighten the mind, encourage the heart, and equip the hands. So if I can strengthen their mind, their heart, and give them resources that are helpful to their life and business, I'm hoping that they find that attractive and would like to go further and deeper.
You said a lot that was really great in what you just revealed. One of the things that I really, really think makes a ton of sense is doing what you do with going into your warm network, creating warm networks, creating events. I also think what you're doing coming on shows is something that works. And that's something I'd love to chat with you about offline. And here's what I found works for thought leaders and heart-driven leaders like yourself. Honestly, it's being part of a group of folks where everybody knows that it's time to get out there and talk to people and get business. Because a lot of folks in our space, they're such good people, they forget about that part, or they're a little nervous about that part. It's not their favorite part of the day, is like get out there and get the business in. And I understand that. And unfortunately, what happens when you don't do that to the full extent that God intends for you to do, and I say this very deliberately, then the person who should be getting a good man's help will not. And instead, some charlatan marketer is going to come in and scoop them up and they're not going to deliver, and they're going to make that person upset because they didn't get the help and they got ripped off at the same time. So you know what I mean? And that's why I think that's super, super, super important. So Justin, don't need to mention any names, but share with me a great success story.
Oh, man. Yeah. What would be a really great success story? Well, let me start saying this one, and I might think of a better one midstream. But the one I'm thinking about right now is one of the Chick-fil-A's that we were working with. Well, let me back up. We have a whole cohort of Chick-fil-A's who are coming together for monthly training, and they're in a group. There's 40 or 50 different people in this room that we're equipping. There was an optional add-on to go deeper beyond the cohort and add on one-on-one coaching. And so this one location said, you know what, we'll sign up for the one-on-one coaching, come in and work with our core leadership team. And so there's 6 of them we're doing additional coaching with. Well, there has been life transformation among those members that has been noticeable and incredible. But then the Chick-fil-A had an opportunity to get a second location, and it's hard enough to become an operator of one location in Chick-fil-A. Their interview process and acceptance process is really difficult. Well, it's even harder to get a second one on there. Well, we actually were able to lead this team in such a way that their culture was so strong and their leadership capacity was so great that Chick-fil-A awarded them their second store. And I know that we had a big part to play in giving them language and ideas and tools that would help them demonstrate to Chick-fil-A corporate that they could make that change. So that would be a big one.
Justin,
yep.
We'll talk offline, but I should connect you with Steve Robinson. I think that would be valuable for you and him. But that's fantastic, man. I love it. That's
you got time for one more? I got one that's not a corporate one.
Yeah, go for it. Give it to me.
Yeah. So I got another young gentleman who I met through Chick-fil-A, and he's running a side hustle business trying to create cheesecakes. So he's doing these really incredible, tasty cheesecakes. And I meet him, and he's wanting some just basic business coaching because he doesn't understand the technical side of business. But he's telling me all the things about his ingredients and all the logical stuff about the cheesecake. And I asked him, I said, well, where'd you get the recipes from? And he tells me that his grandmother is giving him the recipes right now. She's passing these down to him in the kitchen, showing him how to do this, but she's got Alzheimer's and she is being very forgetful in all of life. But when she goes into the kitchen, her memory comes back and she's able to show her grandson how to create these cheesecakes. And he didn't realize the incredible story of making memories in the kitchen. And so through our coaching, he's now rebranding his business, and he's telling a different story that's not just about the ingredients in the cake. It's about creating memories around the table with those you love the most. And I just know his business is going to skyrocket.
Oh, God. Are you kidding me? If he keeps telling the story, it's going to do extremely well. Grandma's Cheesecakes, man. You should rebrand the name of the company and call it Grandma's Cheesecakes. Oh, my God.
You know what? You just gave me an idea now. You gave me something, but I'm going to tell him a cheesecake you'll never forget because of her Alzheimer's. So, hey.
That's good, man. That's good. So, brother, as an emerging thought leader, as a man with a massive desire to serve and to make a big dent in the universe, what's the biggest challenge you're currently facing in scaling and helping more people?
It's funny. I coach people on this, but my biggest challenge is focus because there's so much opportunity. There's so much need. There's so many ways to go. And trying to figure out which of these avenues are the right ones to just serve and give, which of these are waste of time, which of these are actually beneficial, and how do you capitalize? When I worked in real estate, doing land flipping, when I did insurance, and I'm working in these commodities, even retail and restaurant to a certain extent, those costs are pretty fixed, and it's a pretty clear exchange of value. And one of the struggles that I face sometimes is clearly demonstrating the value exchange for the price you pay and really making that transaction happening. And then just getting my name out there, just people hearing who I am and getting on stages. So those are my two biggest challenges.
Wow. Powerfully said, man. Powerfully said. So to build on that, you're such a heart-driven man, and you ought to be big. You ought to be huge. What frustrates you the most about you not being like a household name within your industry yet?
Yeah, that's good. So the easy one on that is social media algorithms. And just like, if you don't play their game, you don't get the reach. And if you're not willing to pay for the ads, I'm looking at this person who has all this guy eating Cheetos off of his belly button, getting millions of views. And here I am trying to offer life-changing wisdom, and I can't get them to show my content to the feed. So that's probably the biggest frustration I have in business. The one that's more within my sphere of control is probably my own ability to focus my message and identify true pain points and really solving those for people and not confusing them. And so I get frustrated when it makes sense to me, and I want people to hear my heart. And often I rely too much on logic. And the fact is, most people are feeling their way through life. They're not thinking their way through life. And I try to go too deep with the thoughts sometimes, and I leave out the emotions, and I frustrate myself when I do that and I don't connect.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. My mentor is a man named Mark von Musser. He's actually also my co-author on my new book that came out today. And he used to be Tony Robbins' director of coaching and training. He's a Christian as well, and he was a Navy vet. And he's the world's greatest heart-driven sales thought leader. He's the best, by far. Helped Tony Robbins add over $150 million to his business over a 5-year period. So he knows what he's doing, right? Here's what he said to me. He said to me, everybody thinks that the way they need to sell is they need to logically demonstrate the superiority of their method, their program, their product, whatever. He said, nobody buys that way. People buy based on their heart. If you can touch their heart in your conversation and they have a need, okay, that's very important. He said they have a need. That's super important. They're going to buy. If you can't, they're not. It's that simple. And he said the smartest thing you can do in a conversation, in a podcast, in a short YouTube video or Instagram live or whatever, is come from here and reach out to there on the other side. So
that's so good.
Isn't it though?
Love it. In your book, you told me your book earlier, and I was kind of on there. Get booked, get paid, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. Get booked and get paid.
You mentioned it a moment ago, but you didn't say the title. I wanted to give your title a shout out.
Get booked and get paid. Yeah. Sorry about that. So sure, we're gonna have to start mentioning. I'm gonna go on my Facebook and other profiles. I'm temporarily change my profile picture to the new book. So I think that's what we need to do. It's good. So imagine, Justin, it's a year from now, it's 3 years from now, it's 5 years from now, and you have built your vision. You got the 2.5 million people that are doing the challenge. Your business is where it needs to be. You've got the impact you want to have. People know who you are. What would that look like? Paint a picture for me. Speak to me as though it's real and it's happened.
Yeah. So first off, let me just say that I've got a wife and 4 children at home. And right now, we are still trying to get the coaching and consulting business to a stage where it's supporting the lifestyle that we had when I was doing insurance and that kind of deal. So we're trying to scale up the revenue. So one piece of that means, hey, we're back living the way we feel like our our lifestyle is what we desire. So one, it would be taking care of my family the way I want to take care of them. The second one would be that I made some kind of bestsellers list with the book, not because I care about the title, but because that states that people are getting the content that I desired them to get when I put it together. So I want to hit some type of, Amazon, whatever, some kind of bestsellers list, and know that there's thousands of people, if not millions, that are reading the words and that are thinking about whether or not they're living a life as an exister or diminisher. And then I think it looks like that I've got other coaches and we're working together to help companies, help individuals, because I can't be all things to all people. And I think a lot of this was like, man, I was able to get enough leads that I'm now referring out to people who are more specialized and can better serve the leads that I'm getting in, and that my life is really part one-on-one coaching with high performance, high potential leaders, and then part working with groups and workshops and cohorts.
I love it. So, brother, you got your book coming out. Congratulations. The book is called Become an Improver by Justin Winstead. When is it officially out?
October 1st is the launch date. Pre-orders should be available later. It'll be in September. Pre-orders early September at the latest.
Okay, so we'll make sure this comes out late September, early October to kind of coincide in time with the launch of the book.
Great.
We end each episode by asking you, our guest expert, for your top 3 expert action steps. These are 3 bullet point, kind of 20 words or less of your best advice to help my listener take his life, take her life, business, faith, love, belief to the next level. What say you?
Oh man, it's difficult to narrow that down to 3. The core of my book is the daily high 5. I'm tempted to just give you those 5.
I love it. That's it. That's it.
All right, we'll give you some bonus. So the core of the book are 5 daily habits that I think will help a person instantly improve, and you can do it anywhere. And this can be applied personally or professionally, faith-driven or not faith-driven. Doesn't matter. These things apply. So it would be first to show thanks. Grow healthy. And by that, I mean have intentional plans for your growth, setting goals around growing, being on purpose with your life purpose. So not just being intentional daily, but knowing what your purpose is in life and making sure you're on mission with that. So show thanks, grow healthy, be on purpose, be accountable. You need to have someone who's helping you with accountability and encouragement, and then serve others. If you do these 5 things each day, your life has no choice but to change internally and externally. You're going to grow yourself. You're going to grow your business. You're going to grow the people around you.
I love it. I love it. I wrote these down. They were awesome. Show thanks, grow healthy, be on purpose, be accountable, and serve others.
Yep.
Justin Winstead, man. Brother, it was awesome having you. So how do people get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Yeah. So if you're trying to connect with me directly, LinkedIn / Justin Winstead. If you go to Facebook / The Improver Coach. So you can do that on the socials. But if you want to go to my website, it's improvergroup.com, and it's improve with an R, improvergroup.com. And my book, if you want to get updates on that and special deals, that's improverbook.com. So improverbook.com. That's the easiest ways to get in touch and stay in touch.
So I love it. If someone wants to have a conversation with you because they're dealing with some of the stuff you talked about, do you offer a introductory call, strategy call, anything like that? And if so, what's the link for that?
Yeah. So the easiest thing on that is if you're on LinkedIn, just go find me on there. I should pop up immediately. There's not too many Justin Winsteads, but yeah, send me a direct message on there, or you can go to the website and fill out the contact form on there and say, hey, I'd like an interview. And what I'm willing to do on that, I'm doing this promotion right now where I am asking for 10 minutes of feedback and advice from people in exchange for 30 minutes of coaching. And so, yeah, if someone's listening or watching this and saying, hey, I could use a little encouragement, and you want to start there, then I'll ask you a few questions over about 10 minutes, and then you get 30 minutes for me to discuss whatever I can discuss with you to help you on your journey.
That's awesome, man. That's like a 30-minute free coaching call. Take advantage of this, people. So listener, Justin Winstead, rhymes with Instead, is the real deal. This man is awesome. Become an Improver. That's a fabulous book. I can't wait to grab a hold of it and read it. Longtime listeners to the show know I read over 100 books a year, so this is cool for me to speak to an author that actually has got something worth listening to. Go to the show notes at thethoughtleaderrevolution.com, listener, to find out more about Justin, to find out more about his company, to find out how to contact him, how to get on his calendar, to get that 30-minute free coaching call. And if you like this, give us a like, give us a rating, give us a review. That helps with the algorithm. That helps more people who should know about us. And if you have a friend who is hurting in life right now and could use a positive voice, Justin's is a positive voice, and so's mine. So share this episode with them and say, hey, you're going to feel better listening to these two men. So make sure that you do that. Justin Winstead, pleasure to have you here, brother. Thank you so much.
Yes.
God bless you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Unleash greatness.
Amen. And that wraps up another exciting episode of the podcast, The Thought Leader Revolution. To find out more about today's guest, the one and only Justin Winstead, go to the show notes at thethoughtleaderrevolution.com or wherever you happen to listen to this episode, be it iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Audible, YouTube, Rumble, or what have you. Until next time, bye-bye.
This episode has been brought to you by eCircleAcademy.com, the proven system to add 6 to 7 figures a year to your thought leader practice.